Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. So as we get into our topics here, first thing is 5-minute moneymaker. You can use these 6 principles of influence every single day to get what you want. So it's just a review of the principles of Cialdini's principles of influence. It's a good thing to make yourself aware of on a regular basis. So, we talk about the power of attorney and why it's so important. I mean, here's another news article that came out. Texas woman, 73, listed as dead by Social Security, is still alive, and she can't get medicine or access to her bank account. Unfortunately, the administrative error was negatively impacted her ability to access her medicine and even her bank account. I take this many, plus my vitamins I have, she told the network, holding out 9.5 pills, not including the vitamins. The Magnolia resident revealed that without insurance, the pills used in her heart condition and blood pressure cost $850 per month. 45 days I cannot handle because I have to have my medication. Frustrated with the situation, she paid the Social Security Administration location a visit, hoping to speed up the process of getting relisted as alive, according to the news bulletin. The office provided her with a letter and said, "Our records incorrectly showed you're deceased. However, we have since found that she is alive." However, the pharmacy did not accept the document. They said, "I'm sorry, the letter's no good. It has to go through the system because of the insurance." So, dudes, what would happen if she was incapacitated and her husband was doing this kind of stuff for her? What kind of a situation would she be in? So what we do is important or not important. This stuff happens, and what we do is really important for people. So today, our topic is about objections. So how do we handle objections? First of all, let's look at what our philosophy on objections is. The 5Q system actually has 4 foundational rules. One is mutual respect. What do I mean by mutual respect? It means this, that if you can get, guys, if you can please do this, take your hands and take your 2 pointer fingers and touch your pointer fingers together. Now push with your right finger hard on the left finger, and that's going to move your left hand. Push hard with the left finger, it moves the right hand. So what I mean by mutual respect is this, do you ever have ornery clients at a first meeting, second meeting, whatever? Do you ever have ornery clients? What mutual respect means is this, is if they're slightly ornery, guess what I'm going to be? If they're slightly ornery, guess what I'm going to be? Because see, my 2 fingertips here, I want to apply just enough pressure to the one that's pushing to keep me stationary. If they apply slight orneriness, I'm going to apply slight orneriness. If they apply a moderate pressure, what am I going to do? Apply moderate pressure back. If you don't react similar to if you try to kill them with kindness. Now again, we can use motivational interviewing. We can use empowering them, those kind of things to get them back on our side. But if those things are not working, you have to be just about as much ornery as they are, because if it's mutual respect, you cannot let people walk all over you. Second foundation is don't tell, sell, preach, or teach. Third is get invited in. What do I mean by get invited in? We don't sell. They have to tell us they want a next meeting. They have to tell us they want to move forward in the process. They have to tell us they want to buy. They ask us. We never ask them. And the big thing that we do is overcome the objection before they bring it up. How do we overcome objections before they bring them up, guys? How do we overcome objections before they bring them up? I tell guys, I predicted, follow the scripts, Tom. You got it. Yeah, glad. Yes, I predicted 20 years ago what your clients would say 20 years in the future. How powerful is that? So Jeff and I always laugh when people say, especially when new people in the system say, what if they give us this objection? I say, well, as soon as Missy runs into my office and puts smelling salts under my nose to revive me, I guess then we can figure out how to fix it. Because if we were getting objections with the scripts, what would we have done a long time ago? What would we have done a long, long time ago? We would have fixed it. Now, do we get objections? Yes, we get objections. Sometimes we what? We make a mistake. We take a shortcut. Believe me, I mean, the year I made $1 million, again, that was 20 years ago, guys. How much would I make in today's world if I made $1 million 20 years ago? So but I still made mistakes. So I'd try to take a shortcut, get too cocky, be lazy or whatever, and I'd have to learn to overcome the objections. So today we're going to talk about how do we overcome objections. Well, first of all, we want to do it before they bring it up if at all possible. Because if they say it, it's true. And what's the only way to see if they say an objection out loud, what's the only way to overcome an objection? To have the client admit that they're wrong. And how many people like to admit that they're wrong? Nobody. So it requires a lot of work. So we can overcome objection. I have no problem overcoming objection. I do it like the back of my hand, and with some practice, you can too. But it takes time. It takes 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. What would we rather do? Learn the scripts and overcome them before they even bring them up. But if they do come up, we're going to talk about how you handle them. So first of all, how many objections are new? That you've never heard them before? None. That's what I'm saying, that all these objections, we know what the objections are going to be. So that's why we incorporated the scripts the way we did, to make sure they never come up. Because very rarely are they new. They're not unexpected. You need to expect objections. Are not valid from their current point of view. So how many objections are valid? All of them. Yeah, they're all valid. So if all else fails, though, here's the objection formula. First of all, you're going to acknowledge the objection. So how do we acknowledge the objection? We say what? Yeah, we ape, but how do we, what do we want to say when they give us objection? First thing out of our mouth. What word? You're right. Yeah. So what I use is absolutely. How much room does that leave for them to think that I'm going to try to overcome the objection when I say absolutely? I hate annuities. Absolutely. I hate them too. The market's going to go up. Absolutely, the market's going to go up. The market's going to go down. Absolutely, the market's going to go down. How much room does that leave for me to disagree with them in their mind? None. So when I acknowledge the objection, I tell them that they're absolutely, you are exactly right. You are right on. You are spot on. Now, I do that because, first of all, it prevents me from doing something stupid, like putting my foot in my mouth. So what I do is I immediately tell them they're right. Not 50% right, not kind of right, but 150% right. Absolutely. That's the first thing we do. Then I'll parrot it back in the form of a question. I mean, annuities, nobody would want to buy an annuity, would they? Of course the market's going to go up, isn't it? Of course the market's going to go down, isn't it? See, now why do I do that? Because immediately I get them what? They thought I was going to argue with them, but I say absolutely, and then I immediately parrot back in the form of a question, and they're going to answer and say what? They agree with me. So they thought I was going to disagree with them. Instead I say absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't want to be investing in something like an annuity, would we? And they say, right. So now all of a sudden they've gone from me arguing to them what? Agreeing back with me. Do you get that, or am I talking Greek? So Jeff, can you maybe jump in here and make sure I'm not talking Greek here?
No, I think it makes sense. You're getting them to agree with you.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so everybody's now starting to say that. Good, good. Then what I'm going to do is get on their side. I'm going to tell them all the reasons why they're right. So with an annuity, what I would say, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't want to be in something that's going to lock my money up forever. Absolutely. I don't want to invest with a company that has way more interest in their bottom line than your bottom line. Absolutely. I wouldn't want to invest my money where if when I die it goes away. Absolutely. I don't want to invest my money where it's going to prevent me from getting great rates of return. I'm just going to go through a laundry list of all the reasons that's going through their head. And do we know all the things that that's going through their heads with an objection generally? Why they may have given us that objection? Now, I'm getting some yeses and nos. For those of you that are saying no, guess what you better learn to do? What is the golden rule of selling somebody? You better be able to get into their what? And guys, if you are in this business and you don't know why people don't like annuities, you better sit down and think about what? Why people don't like annuities. If you don't know why people don't like something, what's the likelihood you're going to be able to overcome that objection? Very low. So you need to write down, when they give us an objection, I think the best thing to do, and some guys do this really well, is start writing down a list of 5 reasons why that objection is valid. I need to talk to my accountant first. Absolutely. I mean, it makes sense to talk to our trusted advisors first, doesn't it? So what did I do? I acknowledged that absolutely. Then I prepared it back in the form of a question. Then I'm going to get on their side. Because, our accountant, they know our situation back and forth. There's number one. What's another reason that accountant isn't really, vested whether what you do, so they're going to be third-party advice. 3, you've known him for a long time, so obviously he has your best interest at heart. 4, he's going to understand the tax ramifications of anything to do. So I'm just going to list a bunch of reasons why that objection is what. And you got to get good. Well, either get fantastic at the scripts and you never have to worry about this, or you better get good at figuring out what people are thinking. Okay, so then we're going to determine the bottom line, and that's what we're going to do today. And then we're going to tell a story to get them to tell us why that bottom line makes sense to them. We reverse tell the story. That's the 100% objection formula, and then we do outs and ins. But most people don't want to learn all that. They're going to do the 80-20. So you're going to get 80% of the power for 20% of the learning curve. So first is you're going to acknowledge, absolutely, pair it back in the form of a question. Absolutely, I mean, it makes sense to go back to your accountant, wouldn't it? Don't forget those 2 words. What 2 words am I talking about there, do you think? See if anybody gets it. Very good, you guys. You guys are awesome. Wouldn't it, doesn't it, isn't it, couldn't it? Those are the ones, because those are the ones that get them to back agreeing with us. Good job. And wouldn't it, couldn't it, shouldn't it? And then we got to get on the client side, starting to list 3, 4, 5 reasons why their objection is 100% right. Until you beat the horse dead, I tell you to practice for 5 minutes, telling them they're right and going through a laundry list of reasons why they're right. So if I've got 5 reasons, that means I'm going to spend how many minutes on each reason? 1. Now, the reason I have you practice 5 minutes is because in the real live situation with a client, are you ever going to go 5 minutes of getting on their side? No. So, but if you practice 5, you'll do 3 or 2. If you practice 3, guess what you're going to do? 1 or 30 seconds. If you practice for 1 minute, guess what you're going to do? 10 seconds. So practice for 5, because what are we doing when we're getting on the client side for 5 minutes? When we're practicing getting on their side for 5 minutes and explaining why they're right, giving them 5 reasons why their objection is right. What are we doing there? We're developing rapport. We're taking a negative thing, which is an objection, and we're developing it into great rapport. Why are we developing rapport there? How are we developing rapport there? By listing those 5 reasons why they're right. Well, the old way of developing rapport, what they tell you to do? Find something in the room that you can, bond over. Oh, you went to the University of Minnesota. I went to the University of Minnesota too. Oh, you fish? I fish too. That's BS that's BS. That's crap. Because baby boomers see that coming from a mile away. But think about this. When they give us an objection and we start listing out all the reasons they're right, what are we doing? We're saying we are what? We think what? Our beliefs are what? The same, alike. So Marcia, people work with who, Marcia? People who are just like them. So that's what we're doing there when we're getting on their side for that listing reasons why they're right. And then we're going to beat it some more. And a lot of you are saying, yes, but if I tell them all the reasons they're right, if I tell them all the reasons why annuities suck, or all the reasons why the market's going to go up, if my point is the market could go down, or the market's they should go back to their accountant, even though I don't want them to go back to their accountant, I'm digging a hole, aren't I? I'm digging a hole. So then what am I going to do? So I get, Mike, that getting on their side is terrific, but if I keep telling them all the reasons they're right, how am I ever going to get out of that hole I've just dug for myself? Here's the funny thing. The deeper you dig the hole, the more likely they are to do what, do you think? See how if any of you got your thinking caps on. Ah, very good, David. They'll dig us out. The more we get on their side about that thing, eventually they'll, like if I just got on their side about annuities and how they sucked and how those companies are always after everybody's money and go on and on, eventually they're going to say, yeah, but doesn't every company want to get at people's money? Eventually you get so far down that hole, they'll start to pull you back up and say, yeah, but Mike, you're going a little crazy there. I mean, there's no perfect thing anywhere, blah, blah. They do start to get you back. So don't worry about digging yourself a hole. Now, I'm also going to help you get out of that hole. For those of you that are worried about it, help you get out of that hole. Okay? So the analogy I use is capture the flag. Does everybody remember the game Capture the Flag, where you have two teams? Each team has a flag, and your job is to run to get the other flag. Okay? So the analogy I'd give is that if there's a flag that's on a hill that you can see, and there's woods surrounding that flag, versus a flag is tied to a tree and there is no hill and it's somewhere in the woods, which game is going to be easier to play? So one has, they're both with, the hill, the one with the hill. Why is the one with the hill going to be better or easier? Because even if you get lost in the woods, you can do what? Look up, reorient yourself for where the flag is, and get going the right direction again. But in the woods, where you don't know where you're going or where the flag is, can you get lost? Could you go around and around and around and never find that flag? So when it comes to objections, you need to know where you're going. You need to have that flag on the hill. So if you get lost, you can always reorient yourself and get going the right direction again. And that's what these bottom lines I'm going to go over with you are. So, for example, I'll give you an example. If they give us the objection, does this have high fees? The 80-20 rule would be to say what? Absolutely. That's a great question, because we wouldn't want to invest in investments with high fees, would we? Now, do you notice that is that a yes or a no there? We wouldn't want to invest in an investment with high fees, would we? Is that a yes or a no? So Nick says, well, that's a closed question. Where is the one place it's okay to ask a closed question, guys? Right here. Yep. So, but my point is, we're always told to get them saying yes, get them saying yes, get them saying yes. I just had you say no, but why is no okay here? Why is the word the answer no okay here? We wouldn't want to invest in something with high fees, would we? Yeah, because they're agreeing with us. They're agreeing with us. So it doesn't matter whether they say yes or no, as long as they're what? Agreeing with us. Does that make sense? And then we're going to get on the client side and tell them why that makes sense. So you're going to say, I mean, if we're investing in, let's just walk through 5 different things to say, yeah, I mean, if you invest in high fees, first of all, that's preventing those fees from building up your account. If we invest in high fees when there's low fees available, we're going to look like a fool. If we invest in high fees, then we're not going to get the compounding effect. If we invest in high fees over time, our accounts are going to be much smaller. Now, these are they completely new, or are they just slightly different answers? Just slightly different answers. Doesn't matter. Okay? If we do high fees, what's going to happen is all that money is going to go into their accounts instead of my account. So see, I'm going to list a bunch of reasons why high fees would be stupid. And at this point, they think what? I do agree with them or I don't agree with them. I am like them or don't like them. I think like them or I don't think like them. Is there any doubt? I want to keep going on with that until I am 100% sure or 150% sure that they know that I'm on their side and I think like them. And to be 150% sure. But now you're thinking, geez, we do have high fees, especially with an FIA when when the market goes up, they could lose half their return. That's a high fee. I've dug myself a hole. Well, here's the bottom line. I'm going to get them to say, yes, but these fees are lower than they're now, or these fees are more fair than the fees I'm paying now. What do I know? Which one of these do we cover in the FIA presentation? The red one or the green one? Which one? Red or the green? You guys are so smart. Yeah, it's the green one. We don't deny that there's a high fees. Now, we could argue the red one too, right? Because when the market goes down, which one pays lower fees? The FIA or the market? Well, the FIA does. So we could argue either one, but really the one that would be the one that we have the clients say over and over and over is, well, these fees are way more fair than the fees I'm paying now. So do you see why it's okay to beat this high fees to death? Tell them that they should be really concerned about fees, and fees should be a number one thing they're thinking about, and anybody who doesn't think about fees is a fool. It's okay to do that because even though we're digging ourselves a hole about fees, eventually we know we're going to get them to say what? Yeah, nobody wants fees, but if there are fees, I want them to be fair, and the FIA is way more or a little more fair than a money management. Way more fair, a little more fair than mutual funds. Way more fair, a little more fair than a variable annuity. So are we concerned then about digging ourselves a hole with this objection, guys? No, because we know where we're going with that. Does that make sense? So what I want to do for the remainder of the call is go through a bunch of different objections and give you the bottom lines, the things that you're looking, the flag on the hill that you know that even if you dig a hole, you know how you're going to get back to where they're going to agree with you. Does that make sense? Give me some whys if that makes sense to you. Okay, good. Okay, so I don't want to be in anything risky. So we'll do the whole formula, but then the bottom line is that what we're recommending is less risky than where we are now, or I want to be prepared for everything. I need to be prepared for risk. I need to be prepared for inflation. I need to be prepared for recession. I need to be prepared for everything. So I can get on their side about not wanting to be anything risky as long as I know that I can eventually have them tell me, yes, but this is less risky than what they're doing now, or that they need to be prepared for everything. Does that make sense to you guys? This is your flag on the hill. You agree. You say, of course we wouldn't want to be anything risky, would we? And then you get on their side about why risky is bad, knowing that eventually we're going to be able to get them to say, yeah, but this is less risky where we're now, or we're prepared for, we need to be prepared for anything. So I want to see everything in writing. So again, we say absolutely. I mean, anybody that wouldn't want to see everything in writing would be crazy, wouldn't they? And they're going to say yes. Because, writing, I'm going to give them 5 reasons why everything in writing is a good idea, knowing that I'm going to say everything is in writing. But I also can get them to say that, guys, is it FIA? Is everything in writing, guys, with an FIA? In fact, is it in better writing than with a mutual fund or a variable annuity or a money manager? Yeah. So, when I know I'm going to be able to show them everything right, but I'm also going to get them to tell me what. If I tried to work, the little story I go through with this is, if I try, what did you do for a living, sir? Well, I was an attorney. Oh, super. So I understand that how you train people for being an attorney is you take somebody in off the street, you hand them a 30-page document, and have them just start to analyze how law deals with all of the things in that document. Is that how you train an attorney, or does it take years and years and years of experience? Well, I was an engineer. Oh, super. What kind of engineer? Electrical engineer. So my understanding is how you train somebody is you bring them off the street, and this is, again, guys, this is after I've agreed with them, said we would want to see everything in writing, wouldn't we? Told them why we'd want to see everything in writing. Now I'm coming with a little story to get them to say it would make sense for an expert to walk me through everything in writing. So do you understand what I'm doing with the lawyer or the engineer or the teacher? I'm saying, how would you, what would you think about, somebody in your profession that you spent 30 or 40 years becoming an expert in, and somebody came in and thought they could be an expert in 5 minutes? What would you think about that person? That person was what? Cray-cray. So obviously, when you bring somebody in off the street to look at a legal document, who would they want to help walk through that document? They might be a genius, but it still makes sense to have who walk through that document with them. If you're an electrical engineer, they may be a genius, but who would it make sense to walk through that schematic with them? The electrical engineer. So I'm going to get you this in writing. Now, I always want to have, when somebody's looking at the writing, the contract, I want to make sure that I'm in front of them. Because if you're an electrical engineer, are there many terms that I would not understand what they're talking about? Many symbols I wouldn't understand. Many turns of phrase that I wouldn't understand. And guess what it is in the FIE industry? Are there terms, guys, in that contract that they would not understand? Do we use terms and logic and garble, Yes. Are there turns of phrase? Are there concepts that they've never seen before and would be hard for them to grasp? So we use the analogy of their job first in the story to get them to admit that, yeah, you'd always want somebody, even for a genius, you'd want somebody who is an expert with years of experience there to help them interpret what's in writing. And the nice thing about this is how often are people pretty proud about what they did for a living? Are they proud about what they did for a living or not proud? Do they think that anybody can walk in and off the street and do what they did as well as they did? No. So when they tell us what they're digging themselves a hole when they tell us how proud they are, right? And why it would be impossible for somebody to do that. So that when we finally get to them to say, yeah, that would be impossible, guess how easy it is for them to agree to us that, yes, there are going to be things in the things that we give in writing. So if I'm going to get it for you in writing, and guess where we're going to review it, folks? Because sending you home with it, that would be actually a bad thing. We're going to review it right where? Well, right here. And why are we going to do that, folks? Well, because obviously, just like with my work, there's going to be terms and phrases and things that I don't know, and you're going to be here as I read it to answer any of those questions and make sure we understand it. So do you see how we're doing that with the objection, guys? They want to see everything. They say, absolutely. Anybody would do something, move money without seeing everything in writing. It would be crazy, wouldn't they? Yep. Because, and I go through 5 different reasons why it would make sense to see it in writing. And then I'm going to tell a little story based on their work to get them to say, it makes sense for me to be in your office walking through that contract in front of you. I need to sleep on this. This is different. I need to think about this, or I need to sleep on this. This is the only one that's different. This is the only one that's different. Because do I really know why obviously obviously what's happened. If they need to think about it or sleep on it, obviously what's happened. Because it's not that they want to sleep on it. It's not that they want to think about it. What's happened here? They don't like something. And do I have any clue what it is they don't like? Do I have any clue whether it's they want to see it in writing? Do I have any clue that they don't want to be anything risky? Do I have anything clue that they don't like annuities? Do I have any clue what it is when they say that I need to sleep on this or I need to think about this? I have no clue. So we have to do this is the only objection script that we do a little bit differently. The first step is to find out their true objection. We use the third party technique. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to agree with them, say, absolutely. I mean, anybody that rushes into anything was going to only get in trouble, aren't they? Yes. So you see how I did the first two steps? Because when we rush into things, I'm going to do 5 reasons on why when we rush into things and don't take a breath to do things, things are going to get bad. So I'm going to list those 5 things. And then I'm going to say, so it's obviously why we need to sleep on this, isn't it? I mean, why do people need to sleep on a decision like this? And then guess what they're going to tell me? Well, because, annuities, there's been a lot in the press about annuities being bad. Or they're going to say, I don't really want to lock, you're asking me to lock my money up, and I'm not really certain whether, see, they tell me the real reason. When I get on their side about not rushing into anything, and I tell them why it's important not to rush anything, but then I switch to a third-party technique, making it sound like everybody has the exact same real objection they have. I say, so obviously it makes sense to now again, remember, I went through the 3 steps first. Absolutely. We should never rush in. Anybody rushing into something is going to make bad decisions, aren't they? Yep. Then I go into the 5 reasons why it makes sense to not rush into things, to think on things, sleep on things, and I say, and it's, and if I ask anybody, I mean, they'd want to sleep on it, and why would they want to sleep on it? And that's when they tell me the real reason. Then once they give me the real reason, guess what I do? So I do the third party, define the real objection, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and use the true objection to overcome it. One of the things we do is this investment is mistake-proof. Nothing can be gained by waiting. But the real thing I want to do is find out the real objection so I can then get on their side about that, a real objection. Is that confusing? Does everybody get what I did there? Yays or nays? Whys or ends? So N means you don't know what I did. So yes, if you know what I did there, and if you want me to go through it better. Okay, everybody's giving me Y's. Oh, confused on the first step. When they say I need to sleep on it, what do I need to do? I mean, I could try to overcome it and say this mistake is mistake proof, but if I try to say that this investment is mistake proof and they hate annuities or they think it's locking them up, is that going to be good? No. If I try to say nothing's going to be gained by waiting, is that good? No. If they have a particular objection, I need to find out what that is. So by saying, and Jeff, Jeff, do you understand what I'm saying there? Maybe you could explain it a little bit different about the first step where we get them to, by using the third party, to get them to blurt out what the real objection is.
Yeah. So,
or am I confusing you too?
No. When they say they need to think about it, why do they need to think about it? Well, it could be any reason. Well, we don't know why they need to think about it. It could be because they don't like annuities. It could be because they're afraid of locking their money up. It could be because they think they have high fees. We don't know. So to find out, that's when we have to back it out to a third party and say something like, yeah, I mean, people would be foolish not to think about it, right? Yeah. So when people think about it, what do they want to make sure? Well, now they're going to tell me. Oh, well, they want to make sure that they're not locking
because annuities are bad.
Yeah, they want to make sure that they're not getting into some crap annuity, or they want to make sure that they're not paying high. They're going to tell me. And then I can address that objection.
And then once they tell you, then what are you going to do? Same thing all over again. So if I said, if then I blurt out, well, it just seems like we're locking our money up and people don't want to lock their money up, what would we do? We'd say, absolutely. Nobody would want to lock their money up, would they? Tell them 5 reasons why they wouldn't want to lock their money up, and then I go through the bottom line and get them to say why this is more liquid than what they're currently doing. So you see, it's really just I'm doing the exact same thing. What, guys? I'm using the objection formula twice. Yes, does that make sense? Thanks, Jeff. That it seemed to have cleared up for everybody. So thank you for doing that. What if the market goes up? I don't want to miss out if the market goes up. So the bottom line is, yeah, well, nobody has a crystal ball or they'd be fabulously wealthy. Instead, we must plan for the market to go up, down, or sideways. Me saying that or them saying that? Them. So again, what I'd say is absolutely. I mean, we don't want to miss out on the market, would we? No. So then I'm saying, because the market goes up with this, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and then I'm going to start telling them a little story to have them agree and tell me this. And if they tell me this, if they tell me nobody has a crystal ball or they'd be fabulously wealthy, instead we must plan for the market to go up, down, or sideways, have they overcome their own objection if they say this? Yeah. What if something happens to you? Guys, we're a lot of us are single people in our own little office, and this happened to me a lot. They love me. These people love me. They just told me that their advisor was screwing them like you wouldn't believe. They wanted to sue their advisor. They are done with that advisor. They finally found a knight on a white horse, a knight in shining armor, and they wanted to keep me. Their big fear was what? What if I died? What if I retired? What if I did this, that, and the other thing? So I would get on their side about that. And does that ever happen to any of you out there that are single proprietors, sole proprietors? Yeah. So what we do is we get on their side. Yeah, well, absolutely. What if something happened? We wouldn't want to be in a situation where something happened to me, it put you in a pickle, would we? No. And then I start going through because of this, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. And then, but I know that I would overcome and say, but because we prepare for everything up front and have with this 21-point checklist, have we prepared for everything up front, folks? Yep. The great thing about this is if I got run over by the proverbial bus, You could run on autopilot for years. Now, we're going to meet on a regular basis and constantly update this, but because we did everything up front, because we're such a good steward with your current situation, guess how long that could run on autopilot? Forever. And you should be more confident in the solution than you are in me, because really, do you know me from Adam? I think we've worked together for the past 2 or 3 weeks. But the fact is should you be buying into me, or should you be buying into the thing that you're doing? Me or the thing that you're doing? Well, no, the thing that I'm doing. Yes, I mean, you want to be able to trust me, but is there anything in here that you don't understand? Is there anything in here that doesn't make sense? Is there anything in here that's not been validated? No, all of that stuff. Okay, so if I get run over by, I'm going to be here forever and ever and ever, but if I get run over by the proverbial bus, guess what? You didn't buy me, you bought what? The solution. Does that make sense? That's where you're going to move to after you go through the first part of the objection script. I'm going to run this by my accountant. I already did that for you, the first part of it. And then we say, there are many experts. They should stay in their what? There are many experts out there, but they should all stay where? In their lane. And then you're going to say, now what would I say if I was in his shoes? What's when I say what would I say if I was in his shoes, we're having the client say what the accountant would say if he's in shoes, because if we go through a little story where they'd have to admit that if we go through, especially about the tax savings portion, and we show them how to save a bunch of taxes, what's the accountant going to say? It's going to say that's bad. Why would accountants say that's bad? If I show them how to save a bunch of money in taxes, why would their accountant immediately say that's bad? Yes, because that's right, Nick. They didn't show him. That's right, Tom. It wasn't his idea. So obviously he's going to think, now the client's not there to rub their nose in it. The client just wants to get their opinion on it. They're not going to hold them accountable and say, well, why didn't you show this to me? They're not there for that. They just want to make sure they're doing the right thing. But guess what the accountant's going to be thinking? If I admit that it's right, they're going to be mad at me. The client's not going to be mad, but isn't that what's going through the accountant's mind? And guess how easy it is for the client to when I walk them through that story to realize, oh yeah, you're right. They are gonna think that way. I'm gonna review this with my son. So the bottom line to the flag on the hill is we're going to say that it's too hard for loved ones to be objective. Think of a surgeon. Do they allow surgeons to operate on their own relatives? Do they? No. Why don't they? The other thing is I can't hold loved ones accountable. If I do something that's not right or make a mistake, you can go after me. I have what kind of insurance do we have, guys, that if the mistake is made? What kind of insurance do we have? E&O. Does your loved ones have E&O insurance? So if there's a mistake made, guess what? You're stuck. The other thing is it could cause big family problems. Let's say they do something and it ends up terribly. That could cause problems. First of all, you could be mad at them, but I know you're nice people, so you'd never be mad at them, would you? You'd never be mad at them. But think about this. If you were working with your mom or dad and you lost 50% of their money through no fault of your own, the market just goes down, but how comfortable are you going to be going to Thanksgiving when they invite you over knowing that their $500,000 account went down to $250,000? How comfortable would that Thanksgiving be for you? Even though they're not holding you accountable, even though they're nice, how are you going to feel going over to Thanksgiving? Good or not good? So guess what you might start to do? Avoid Thanksgiving. Do you ever want to put your kids in a situation where they're going to not want to come to Thanksgiving because the market went down through no fault of their own, but how are they going to feel? Every time they look at you in the eye, guess what they're thinking? Mom and Dad are knowing that because they did what I recommended, the account went down $250,000. What are they going to be thinking? Good things or bad things? So even if you're nice. But here's the great thing. When they want to review it with our son with the 5-2 system, guess what we say? This is how you'd overcome. If you didn't have the 21-point checklist, this is how everybody that does not have the 21-point checklist should overcome it. But because we have a 21-point checklist, David, you're right. We say, absolutely, let's run it by the sun. Because are we going to just run the FIA by the son, or are we going to start all over again with the 21-point checklist for the son? All over with the 21, and then he's going to see all the things that are going to be huge problems if they aren't fixed, and where are those problems going to land? If their parents doesn't get these things fixed, they're going to land on him. That's right. So guess what he's going to say to mom? Mom, you shouldn't work with Mike, or Mom, you got to work with Mike. You gotta. Because he wants me to take care of all of those things so they don't end up on his lap. Does that make sense? My neighbor says this isn't any good. We're back to, well, friendship is great, experience is better. Can I hold my friend accountable? Does he have E&O? I want to shop around. Again, you do the three things. Of course you want to shop around. I mean, shopping around makes sense, doesn't it? And then tell them why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 reasons why that's smart. And then I'm going to move towards the flag on the hill, which is have them say, I will find a better deal, and waiting costs time and money. How am I going to feel when, here's another thing I would do on folks, I'd have them say that, how am I going to feel when you come back if I continue to shop for a wife after the first meeting of my wife? So if I went out with my wife and said, you know what, you're pretty darn good, honey, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to go out and find shop around, go on to lots of other dates, and if I don't find something better than you, I'm going to come back to you. What's your wife going to say? Guys, I used this when I was making $1 million a year, and so how cocky was I the year I was making $1 million? And again, in today's world, you had to make $2 or $3 million. If you're making $2 or $3 million in today's world, how cocky are you? Yeah. So I said, you know what? Here's the thing. You can go around. I would get on their side, say, I mean, it makes sense to shop around, doesn't it? And then go through the 5 reasons that make sense, and then say, so I just want you to understand how I feel. And then I'd say, Agnes, when you went on a date, your husband said, I think you're pretty good, but I'm going to just shop around, go on a few more dates, and if I don't find something better I'm coming back, what would you have said, Agnes? I'd tell him, take a hike. So I'm just going to be honest with you. If you go shop around, guess what you just told me? So when you come back, I'm not guaranteeing I'll take you as a client. So you can make up your mind right now. What does that tell the client when I do that? That I could give a what if they become a client or not? That I have lots of time, or I don't really have time to be dealing with this kind of stuff. Either go with me or don't go with me, but I ain't got time to be dealing with this stuff. Now, obviously, until you're making a couple $1 million a year, should you try that one? No. I'm going to wait until everything settles down. Again, you get on their side. You say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense to wait until things have settled down, doesn't it? And then tell them the 5 reasons that makes sense. But then I'm going to move them towards, but I should be prepared for regardless of what, because it could continue to go down, could continue to go up. It's going to go crazy. I never know what's going to happen, so I have to be prepared for what? Everything. My broker says he'll fix everything. Do you all know my auto insurance story? When somebody says, I want to go back and fix it with my broker, do you all know the automobile insurance story? Does anybody not know it? Yeah, that's right. Overcharging me for years. Then he wants to, I find out it's cheaper. And so I go ahead and move. And then he calls me up and says, why'd you move? And I say, it's because you've been overcharging me for $800 a year. He goes, well, I can fix that. I'll start charging you less than that. And what do I tell him? Okay, you've been overcharging me for 10 years. So as soon as you come up with 800 times 10 is $8,000. As soon as you give me my $8,000, you've been overcharging me. Guess what I'd be more happy to do? So Mr. and Mrs. Client, we found out he's been overcharging you $7,000 a year. That's 70 grand. So of course, I think you should go back to him as long as he's willing to do what? Pay me the 70 grand. So what do you think he's going to do when you ask for that? The other thing is, think about this. He can fix all these things, but then what are you going to think 3 years from now when the market goes down, or there's a tax law change, or there's a law change, or whatever may go, or there's a recession? We all found how many things that were wrong? 21 things that were wrong. So if you can go ahead and fix those, what are you going to be thinking 3 years down the road? I wonder if he's what? And if you're always second guessing him, is that a fun thing for him? I mean, first of all, is it fun for you to be always second guessing, always worried whether he's doing his job? And is it a fun thing for him? Because aren't you going to be ask a little more questions about things and quiz him a little bit more and make sure he's doing things? So you're going to be constantly looking over his shoulder and guess how he's going to. I mean, obviously, that's first of all, why are you paying somebody if you have to be constantly looking over his shoulder? But second of all, put yourself in his shoes. Is he going to want you all looking over his shoulder all the time, double checking him, triple checking him, making sure? No. So is that a win-win or a lose-lose for you two? For you and your advisor, if that's the relationship going forward. It's lose-lose. So that's how we deal with that. If I pull out, I'm going to get hit with a big tax bill. Well, here's the easy way to handle that. Do you want to pay more taxes or less taxes? What will they all say? M or L, more or less? M or L? Less, okay? Do you think taxes are going to go up in the future? You or yes or no? Y or N? Yes. Do you think your account's going to go up in the future? Yes. So if taxes go up and your account goes up, what's going to happen to the amount of taxes you pay? Up. So if you really want to pay less taxes, should you do it now with a lower tax rate and a smaller account, or later with a higher tax rate and a larger account? What would any logical person do, Mr. and Mr. Client? That's how you handle that. That's, again, after doing all the things, of course you shouldn't pull it out. I mean, absolutely. Pulling it out and getting hit with taxes, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Then give them 5 reasons that make sense, and then I walk them through this Socratic sale. Is there any way to wiggle out of this Socratic sale right here, guys? Nope. If I move, I'll get hit with a penalty. Then all you do is say, well, let's do them again, get on the set. Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to move and get hit with a huge penalty, do you? Give them 5 reasons, but then here's the story I'm going towards. Let's do the math and see which is bigger. All the fees you're paying now multiplied by how many years you're going to wait versus taking the hit right now. And guys, what's going to be bigger? The hit they take now or all the fees multiplied by the years they're going to be in there? All the fees. Can I just give you $10,000 and see how it goes? Again, absolutely. Great idea. I mean, we don't want to commit everything at once, do we? Tell them 5 reasons that makes sense, but then I'm going to get them to tell me, dude, you've worked hard for your money, so if it ain't right for your $10,000, guess what it's not right for? Any of your money. So just folks, if you're not certain that this is the right thing to do, don't do it with any of your money. If you're not certain, don't even put 10 grand on the line if you're not certain. That's crazy. 10,000 is a lot of money. Why would you risk that? So if it's not right for all your money, don't do any of your money. When you look somebody in the eye and say that, guess what they said? What does that tell them about you? You're desperate or not desperate? Do it or don't do it. I don't care. Can I fix all the legal documents first before we handle the investments? Again, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense to get these things done quickly, wouldn't it? Tell them 5 reasons that make sense, but then I'm going to go and get them to say, doing things out of the order costs more money, costs more time, and can create mistakes. Can we just pay you by the hour to fix these things? Absolutely. It makes sense just to pay you by the hour, wouldn't it? Give them 5 reasons why that makes sense, and then have them tell me it's better to think long-term than short-term. Because what do we find? When somebody pays by the hour, guess when they want to come back, guys? Often or not very often? Exactly. I can handle the investments myself. Absolutely. Of course you. I mean, you've been doing it for years, haven't you? Yep. Tell them 5 reasons why that makes sense. But we want them to say, of course I can handle these things, but I'm really here for my spouse, not for me. Because I can do it, but Agnes isn't really sure about, she's great at handling the checkbook and everything else. She's not used to the investment, so I'd like somebody to be there for me. I have them tell me that. Have them be there for her, that if I get run over by the bus, we already have a relationship with somebody. Because if I get run over by a bus and she has to go out and find the relationship, what's that guy going to see? What's that new advisor going to see? If I get run over by the bus and now she's looking for somebody, what's that? Obviously, this is due for a do-it-yourselfer. Yeah. Ka-ching is right. Can I take the 21 with me? We want a win-win, not a lose-lose. So we'll wait until you can help us implement this. And remember, guys, are these things that I'm saying or they're saying? All these bottom lines, who's saying it, me or them? They are, that's right. So I have them, we walked them through that little story about whose name is on this 21-point checklist. Mine and yours. I love you folks, but here, let's go walk through this. If there are many ways to do each of these things, ways that are going to put you in a much better situation, but if you do them wrong, it could put you in a bad situation. Just like prescription drugs. If you do this, take the prescription drugs right, they can be a blessing. If you do them wrong, they'll kill you. It's the same way with these things. So if you go home and do these things wrong, my name is on this. So here's the thing. If you do them wrong, is that helping you? Give me a why or no, guys. If you do these things wrong, is that helping you? If it puts you in a worse situation, no. And is it helping me? Because guess what? Who's your family's going to be angry at? Yeah, no, it's not helping me. So that's a lose-lose. Now, if I help you with these things and they're done right, does that put you in a better situation? Are you happy then? Yes. And am I happy if you're happy? Yes. So that's a what? A lose-lose or a win-win? That's a win-win. So we want a lose-lose or a win-win? We want a win-win. So why can't I give this to you? Well, because if you give it to us and we do something wrong, and we wouldn't, but I understand that you're concerned about that. If we took this home and did wrong, there could be problems for you and me. So why can't I give it to you? But because you're going to help me with it when we actually start to implement it. Absolutely. That's how you handle that. Do you think I should leave my advisor? You're going to say, that's a great question. I mean, but you wouldn't want to leave your advisor if he's doing your job, would you? And then I go through 5 reasons why it would make sense not to leave the guy. Guys, am I going to go through and tell them why they should leave their guy or not leave their guy? They're asking this question because why? They want to see if I'm a salesman. So I'm giving them reasons why they shouldn't leave their guy. But then at the end, I'm going to have them say, if he's doing his job, I should stay. If he isn't doing his job, I should leave. So what have we found out over the last 2 hours? Doing his job or not doing his job? So all of these bottom lines are under the handling objection scripts in the number 3 implementation meeting. Implementation meeting, here's the bottom lines. Those are the things that I just went through. So if you ever want to see them, they're all, without having to watch the whole coaching call, you can go through and it lists them right there. So it's a whole list of them. Here's all the objections. Here's the bottom line for each one of those objections. So was this helpful, guys? Are you a little less scared of digging yourself a hole when you're getting on the other side about an objection? So guys, when you've mastered the crib notes and motive, your daily practice 15-minute drill and GOTS, doing your 5-minute drills, you won't need to worry that much about these objection scripts, but it still makes sense to be familiar with them. And that's when you're going to close every client you get in front of. So I appreciate you guys being on today, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks, everybody.